before the events, you can set this up so that if you're inbound, all your inbound calls then, rather than being terminated because you've lost power.
Right, exactly.
Redirected someplace else.
Exactly, and you would do that, in this environment, you can do that on a main number level, so a system-wide level, as well as on a personal level. So for example, let's say everybody in your organization has a direct number. Okay, so those people still want to get calls as well. So you can go into this portal, and I mean some companies have it, some companies don't, and we can get into knowing your service provider in a minute. But you would have the ability to do this in advance for each number. So I want, telephone number, Bill's telephone number to ring Bill's cell phone in the event of a failure. I want the main number to ring a hunt group that rings these 15 people or 10 people. So those are some of the options you have. You can also overlay like an auto attendant. Say something like, hey, we're actually having a massive outage. There's a huge hurricane. I don't know if you knew. Please call back later. Or please press 1 to reach our emergency operators and let them handle those calls. Because maybe you don't want every call because you're dealing with a million other things. So there's all these options, and those should all kind of be discussed with your service provider.
They're available to you because you're not going through the copper that's coming to your facility anymore. You're in the internet, you're in the cloud, and the example before of when we went to Syracuse and Stony Brook, the fact we lost our data lines. We lost our data lines, so incoming calls would have been interrupted. But now we were able to interject them and forward them to cell phones. Cell phones had issues too, but to your point, we were able, if we wanted to, we could have put that message out there. Because what happens is it's not coming to Stony Brook through a copper line anymore. It's coming into the internet that you could handle that from anywhere.
You're really another system before that system makes that decision. If it sees everything's up, it just passes it through.
So Paul and I work together on the IT side. The finance guy's going to come to me and say, how come you didn't do this? There is a substantial investment in infrastructure and also equipment that's going to get changed out too.
So you guys have an on-premise phone system.
Oh, and the other thing is we've got local disaster and then I guess a multiple site disaster we've got to consider. So there's unified networking, but we've got to invest in our telephony system that we can't just poof, switch over to unified and multiple.
Right. Well, that's the idea behind that hybrid planning. So you leave your phone system where it is. You don't touch it. Okay. Everything stays the same on that side. But what you're doing is you're diverting the inbound calls at the service provider level, not at your location.
No, I get it, but he's going to say, how come it's not done? Because there is an investment into the service providers.
Right? So I'll give you a price comparison. I don't know how large your organization is, but let's say you have a PRI. PRI, maybe one, maybe two, maybe a SIP trunk or whatever. Maybe you have an $800 a month, $900 a month invested in that PRI. Okay, so take that same number and make it like $450 for the PRI component, and say another $100, $150 for all that redundancy. And what we're doing is we're going to bring in a circuit, or you're going to utilize existing circuits that you have. I mean, best to have an uncontended voice circuit, and then you would fail over to another circuit. So these things are all available, and you're right. There is some investment in it, but it's not overly expensive to do that process.
Do you know where the cost comes in, and you just touched on it too, is that redundancy and the risk that you're willing to take. If you're willing to take the risk that, you know what, if the electric goes out, these chunks of my organization aren't going to be there anyway, so I don't need phones for them, that could help reduce the investment that you needed. But if you're going to want, and again, we're in the process of putting a VoIP phone system in at Stony Brook, and it's very expensive at the hospital because they need to be up all the time. They can't afford anything down. So, yet, the psychology department, not to pick on them, but, you know, if it snows, or if, you know, if they don't show up, so do they really need phones, you know? So that's where it comes in, right? I mean, I think
Right.
it's about the cost comes in and how many nines of uptime
Right.
you
I
really
think-
need, right?
I think when people look at our industry, and especially the products that we're providing, in general, it's been such a commoditized industry that everybody looks at price and they don't look at those enhanced features. Say, okay, I get a PRI from Windstream for $350, and so I want your service for $350. Okay, fine, for the most basic service, that's doable. But if you want those other features, then there's not that much of a huge expense to move in that direction, especially because your current infrastructure is staying the way it is. You don't need to change that. Yeah.
Just kind of plays back